For over 60 years, the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce has brought luminaries from the entertainment world to this iconic boulevard. And we've done that in order to bring folks who have made a true impact in their fields and to have them place their iconic name in this galaxy of stars that we have along this walk. Today is also a day that's in some ways more important, and with all due respect to our other Walk of Famers, it feels a little more important today because it's not just about bringing someone whose name is iconic in their field. It's about what they represent to an industry, a sense of truth and integrity that is often lost or people feel is lost today in journalism. And it's a pleasure for us to be here today to welcome our newest member to the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Chris Wallace. To take on today's ceremony, I'd like to welcome to the stage our President and CEO, Steve Nissen.
As I'm walking up, a certain former governor said, "Come on, Steve, do it." I don't know do what, but I'll do what I can. My name is Steve Nissen. I'm president and CEO of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. First of all, we have a nice crowd with us both alongside and way behind. So good morning, Hollywood, to all of you. Now, before we start the ceremony, let's give a big shout out to our fans watching around the world on our live stream presented by our media partner, Variety. That's a loud shout out. The Hollywood Walk of Fame recognizes achievement in the categories of motion pictures, radio, live theater, live performance, sports entertainment, recording, and television. Today, in the category of television, with star number 2,820 on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, we honor the legendary Chris Wallace. Now, before we invite Chris to the stage, let me tell you a little bit about our honoree. It's actually impossible to say a little bit about our honoree because he's really had a varied and amazing career. Chris is one of the nation's most accomplished journalists with an unparalleled and award-winning track record across broadcast television, cable television, streaming, print, and independent content creation. Over the course of his career, he's reported on national and international affairs at the highest level, giving him a deep understanding of politics, global relations, and a broad network of relationships in Washington and in world capitals. In a Morning Consult poll in May of 2024, Chris was named one of the most trusted anchors in broadcast journalism during his career. He has served as an anchor on NBC, ABC, Fox News, and CNN. His work has won every major broadcast news award, including 3 Emmy Awards, the DuPont Columbia Silver Baton, the Peabody Award, the Polk Award, and the Paul White Award for Lifetime Achievement. Most recently, Chris spent 3 years at CNN as the anchor of the weekly political program with the catchy name, The Chris Wallace Show, as well as host of the interview show with the equally catchy name, Who's Talking to Chris Wallace, where his guests range from retired Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer, Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, as well as movie stars George Clooney, Harrison Ford, and music virtuoso Jon Batiste. He was also a top analyst for CNN's coverage of the U.S. presidential debates and the presidential election. Prior to CNN, Chris worked at Fox News for 18 years and hosted Fox News Sunday. He is the first and only Fox anchor to ever moderate a general election presidential debate, both in 2016 and again in 2020. Through it all, Chris applied his unbiased and probing approach to interviews. He sat down with every Democratic and Republican president since Ronald Reagan. He sat down with world leaders, including Vladimir Putin and Emmanuel Macron, and he led his team on groundbreaking, award-winning investigations. While at Fox News, Chris secured the channel's first interview with President Barack Obama in February 2009, and he went on to interview the former president more than anyone in the history of that network. Prior to that, Chris worked for 14 years as chief correspondent for ABC's Primetime, as well as chief substitute anchor for Ted Koppel on Nightline. During the first Gulf War, he reported for ABC from Tel Aviv when it came under Iraqi missile attack. From 1978 to 1989, he worked for NBC in key posts, including 6 years as chief White House correspondent during the presidency of Ronald Reagan. I feel like we're scrolling through decades of our most recent history. Chris also anchored Meet the Press, making him the only person to host 2 Sunday morning news programs. Now, Chris has made history, Chris has lived history, Chris has reported on history, and he has written about history. In fact, he's written 3 history books in his Countdown series. Countdown 1945, on the decision to drop the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. Countdown Bin Laden, on the hunt to bring the mastermind of the 9/11 terror attack to justice. And Countdown 1960, on the Kennedy-Nixon election and how it changed presidential politics. And by the way, all 3 books were New York Times bestsellers. Now, let's go to the Wayback Machine and talk about how this all started. Chris decided to become a reporter after working, while still in high school, as an intern for Walter Cronkite during the 1964 Republican Convention. After graduating with honors from Harvard College, Chris landed his first job at the Boston Globe, where he worked his way from covering City Hall to serving as the paper's national reporter. Now, Chris didn't just fall into journalism. He was literally born into it. And his star, when we unveil it a few moments from now, will be next to another legendary newsman and someone who happens to be Chris's father, Mike Wallace. Chris was an unofficial advisor on presidential debates from 2020 to 24. He's also an advisor to the Wallace House Center for Journalists at the University of Michigan. Now you can relax a little bit more, Chris. Before we hear from you, we have 2 friends of yours who would like to say a few words. So, I will say one of my very first jobs ever as a teenager was as a stagehand in Hollywood, and one of my Burbank actually, and one of my very first jobs was with The Tonight Show. Our first speaker is a writer, comedian, and television host. In 1992, he was chosen to replace Johnny Carson for The Tonight Show and hosted that popular show for over 2 decades, through 2014. That same year, 2014, he was inducted into the Television Hall of Fame. So please welcome to the stage a Walk of Famer in his own right, Jay Leno.
Thank you, Steve, for that lovely eulogy. That was fantastic. You know, Steve mentioned that Chris had been the recipient of a Peabody Award. Now, don't confuse it with the Peabody Award given for excellence in journalism. This is the Peabody Award given up by the Rocky and Bullwinkle Show by Mr. Sherman, just so clear that up. Now, you might not know this. His parents named him Christopher. He was born on Columbus Day. Isn't that correct? Born on Columbus Day. That's why he's recently been pressured to change his name to Indigenous Peoples Wallace. We all know how tough it is growing up in this town in the shadow of a famous parent. That end of the day, Maury Povich announced, "Mike Wallace, you are not the father." These are all stupid jokes. Chris actually started out as a model. His first break came when he was chosen to be the camera face for a major stool softener manufacturer. So that was quite an honor. All right, let's continue. He proved his worth. Thank you, Arnold. I didn't understand it, but it's funny. It sounded using the English to make it funnier. Yeah. Do it now. There's a bomb in the tree. Look out. He proved his versatility by working for both CNN and Fox, showing that Chris didn't care who he worked for, as long as they were really, really biased. In fact, I remember the night he scored one of the biggest interviews of his career, when he sat down with Frank Sinatra Jr. and gave an award. No, I've been a fan of this gentleman for a long time. I got to know Walter Cronkite, and I think he is a fitting tribute to that great man. Walter was a friend of mine. Walter and what's that? Welcome to Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Once again, free speech reigns supreme here in town. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. No, I was with him when he got the Congressional Medal of Honor Award. That's given by the Congressional Medal of Honor Society, and they don't just hand those out. But I've been a big fan of his. He's a newsman with a sense of humor. He always gets a joke. He didn't get some of mine today, but that's okay. But just a huge fan. And, you know, in a day when news seems to be all just people with TikTok and just unprofessional people reporting, to have a real, true professional with us, Chris Wallace. Chris, thank you very much, my friend. It's an honor to call you a friend.
Okay. Our next speaker is a movie star, businessman, former professional bodybuilder, and by the way, the designated heckler today. His films include Terminator, Conan the Barbarian, Commando, Total Recall, True Lies, Kindergarten Cop, and Twins, to name a few. He also had another career. He presided over the fourth largest economy in the entire world as the 38th governor of the state of California from 2003 to 2011. So welcome to the stage, a Walk of Famer also in his own right, and former governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, Steve, you're so funny. Oh, that was wonderful. But it is great to be here again. It takes me back to my early days in my career when I got the star on Hollywood Boulevard. I think it was 1987, June 1987. And, you know, you go through the ceremony and you enjoy it, of course. But really it has such an unbelievable impact that for the rest of your life and beyond that, this star will be on Hollywood Boulevard. So this is really big time. And there's, of course, no one that deserves it more than Chris. Chris has been such a fantastic journalist, and this is why I'm here today, because Chris made 2 phone calls to me in his life. One phone call was to do an interview with me, and the other one was to be here today and to be a presenter of him and to introduce him at this celebration of the Hollywood star. And he called me and he said to me, he says, Arnold, you know, my biggest dream is to have my favorite action hero introduce me here today. He says, but I'm sorry to say that Stallone was not available. He says, so I can ask you, can you do it? And I said, of course, it's a piece of cake. But of course, when you do something like that, you right away do some research. And I did some research on him. You know, he was born, same year I was born, 1947, on October 12th, correct? 1947, exactly. And also, at his birth, he wore a suit. Just so you know, because you know, you never ever see him without a suit. That's the bottom line. But he's an extraordinary, like I said, extraordinary journalist. He has worked for Fox, he has worked for CBS, do wholly owned subsidiaries of the White House. So we're very proud of that. And the other thing I wanted to just say is that the reason why I know he's a fantastic journalist is because I know a lot about journalists. I've been interviewed, you can imagine in my lifetime, by thousands and thousands of journalists. But not only that, but I also was married to a journalist. The only difference between Chris and Maria is that Chris never has taken half of my money. Anyway, it is great to be here today and to introduce Chris. I mean, he's a fantastic, just to show you, there was just recently a poll done of who are the most trustworthy journalists. And I was blown away by that, but I know it was not unusual. He ranked amongst the top in the last few decades, amongst the most trusted journalists. So along that group is just literally Walter Cronkite or his father or him. And of course, he deserves that recognition because he is a fantastic journalist. I love watching his show. And one day he did call me and he said, I would like to do an interview with you, Arnold. And I said to him, well, you know where you can find me. And he said, oh no. Are you not talking about the gym? And I said, yes, Gold's Gym. That's where you can find me. And he came down to Gold's Gym, and for the first time ever, I saw him with a sweatsuit on. And not with a suit, but a sweatsuit. And he worked out with me, and it was just after a surgery that he had. What was that surgery? Some appendix surgery or something like that you had? There was some surgery. Huh? Sex change. Yeah, exactly. Sex change. It was surgery that he had. But then he worked out, and he did really a great job with the workout. And then he did part of the interview in his tracksuit, in his gym suit. I was really impressed with that. And the rest of the interview we then did again in his normal clothes with his suit and tie and all of that stuff. But anyway, he's fantastic. I love to support him. I love being here today and to introduce him. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chris Wallace.
Thank you, Governor. You know, I've been doing these ceremonies about 2.5 years. This is the first time a speaker went into detail about an honoree's medical procedures. But this is Hollywood. Chris, it's time for you to come on up. All right, Chris, we're here at one of the most famous intersections in the entire world, Hollywood and Vine. This is a street known around the world as a street of creativity, innovation, excellence, and you are now joining 2,819 other honorees. You will be the 2,820th. But even though we refer to it as a street of dreams and something that captures imagination, it's also a real place with real stores, real people working. You've met some of our inhabitants walking across the street during the ceremony. But we're located in the city of Los Angeles, and the city would like to give you a resolution courtesy of our city council person, Hugo Soto-Martinez. So let's pose for those pictures now. Oh, okay. I see there's one missing picture. Got it. Okay. They don't care. Yeah, they care.
I care, yes, I care.
All right. So this is my favorite moment, really, in all these ceremonies, where I get to say on behalf of the Hollywood Chamber, I now declare today, Chris Wallace, stay in Hollywood! Take it away, Chris.
Steve, thank you so much. I don't know what I pictured today as, but I didn't expect to have my name on the marquee of the Pantages Theater. It's kind of surreal. I want to begin by getting back at my two celebrity guests. Arnold is exactly right. When I asked him to do an interview, his producer, Daniel, said, well, that's fine, but the first part of the interview has to be done at Gold's Gym in Venice. Now, to look at me, I'm sure all of you think I spend a great deal of time at Gold's Gym somewhere working out. So I was nervous as a cat when I had to go to the gym and work out with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he certainly made it as pleasant as it could be. He kept telling me, I was lifting 10 pounds. You're using your full form. You're completing the action. And never once did he say, Chris, you are a girly man. So I was very happy about that. As far as Jay is concerned, we asked him for several months to do an interview, and we were about to come out to California to do it, and he set himself on fire. And then we had it rescheduled, and he was riding a motorcycle, and he didn't see a chain across a parking lot, which knocked him off his motorcycle and almost garroted him. So I said to Jay, look, you can just say you don't want to do the interview. Nobody went to so much trouble not to do an interview. It was worth it. But you finally caved and did the interview. I'm so excited to get this award, and particularly to be, you can't really see it, but you see ACE there is Mike Wallace, and the Chamber of Commerce was so nice to accommodate my request that I have my star next to my father. It's an interesting thing, because when, as Jay mentioned, growing up as the son of somebody famous is not an unalloyed blessing. There are some aspects to it that are difficult. You're living in the shadow. Did you get this job on your own? And it was something that I had to deal with. But by the end of his life, we had become best friends. And now I find that whenever his name is mentioned, instead of it having mixed feelings, I actually feel delighted that people still remember my father, which is just an indication that 25 years of intense therapy actually is not a waste of time and money. The star's a big honor, but as Steve mentioned, the real honor and the real joy for me is a half a century as a journalist. I have gone from covering the Boston City Council to 6 years covering Ronald Reagan in the White House. I've interviewed saints. I spent a week in 1979 with Mother Teresa in Calcutta, just after she had won the Nobel Peace Prize. I spent a very long hour with Vladimir Putin in 2018, right after the Trump summit, interviewing him and asking him, why is it that so many of the people that oppose you end up dead? Which was an interesting moment. And then took my wife on a trip to Russia, which probably was foolish, but it worked out okay. I want to, Steve mentioned this is an interesting time for the news business, and I want to just briefly deliver a sermon about this business, because I do get a lot of compliments, even coming out on this trip, that I play it straight, that I'm fair. And while I like compliments as much as the next person, the fact that this is an object of praise is, to me, profoundly depressing. When I started in the news business at the Boston Globe 56 years ago, being honest, playing it straight, having integrity wasn't a subject of praise. It was what kept you from getting fired, like being accurate. And the fact that it is now something that stands out, I think, is a sad commentary about the news business. And I hope that people will remember that our job isn't to take sides, isn't to get down onto the playing field. It's to call balls and strikes and be as honest and as fair and call strikes on both sides as you can possibly be. I think sometimes in the modern news business, some of my colleagues have forgotten that. Finally, I just want to say I thank you. Thank you to Jay and to Arnold for coming today. I'm sure this was just the most exciting thing in the world for you to come to a Walk of Star presentation. I want to say thank you to my friends, some of whom flew all the way from the East Coast. I want to say thank you to my work family, some of my former colleagues from Fox, some of my former colleagues from CNN, my new family, Redbird, some of them are here, and most of all, I want to say thank you to my real family. 3 of my children are here. My beloved wife, Lorraine, is here. To the Hollywood Walk of Fame, to Jay and Arnold, to my work colleagues, to my friends, to my family, my heart is filled with gratitude today, and I couldn't be more thankful to all of you. Thank you.
So, Chris, you know, for 60 plus years, the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce has honored celebrities on the Walk of Fame, but we don't often get to honor heroes. So thank you for being a hero to so many of us, and congratulations. And now, I think we all want to see the star. So are you ready to unveil the star?
Oh, I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Okay. You lead the way.
On behalf of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce,
you to pull up the cart and everything, and just Mike Wallace right there. Yeah, pull it up. So go through here, or do you want to go through here? And right there.